7-point game. Hooker gets the steal. Now Dussault comes in. And she's gone. Lamla in the paint. Making rebound. Bernstein with the flush.
Coming up on this edition of UND Sports Extra, the men's and women's basketball teams look to continue their ascent in the Big Sky standings. Brian Jones and Travis Brewster drop by to recap their weeks. Later, few players know their role on a team quite like senior guard Kelsey Knox. We unravel the tale of her path to UND, and the women's hockey team closes out the home portion of its regular season schedule with a visit from St. Cloud State. Highlights from that weekend series are ahead, but we begin with head men's basketball coach Brian Jones. Coach, it was a battle-tested week for you guys as you went on the road to Eastern Washington and to Idaho.
It was. It's a tough trip, travel-wise, but both teams are really talented teams. Eastern Washington, I feel, is the second-best team in our league, and Idaho's getting healthy now, who beat us to start the league. Now they're getting healthy. That was their biggest strength through this stretch, was their depth, and getting their best player back for our game was huge for them. So it was definitely a strong weekend. We played well, didn't get the results we wanted, but I'm still encouraged because we played well, and our kids really showed a lot of ability to get back into games and just to sustain their effort.
You managed the ball very effectively in both of your games this past weekend, as we'll begin Thursday at Eastern Washington in Cheney. Early on, your team built a 5-point lead, as we'll watch Quentin Hooker dish off to Gino Crandall, who gets the shooter's touch on the three here. And a big player for you on this Thursday night was Drick Bernstein. He was doing it both ends for you, Coach.
I thought he had a really effective weekend, efficient weekend, as you just mentioned. He was rebounding, he scored it at a high level. But the thing about what you talked about in the opening statement, we had 20 assists on 6 turnovers, on 30 field goal made. So it tells me we're really sharing the ball, we're efficient. And scoring the basketball. A lot of inside-out, high-percentage shots.
Yeah, Bernstein getting the hoop and the foul there. He had 14 points and a game-high 10 rebounds. But Eastern Washington shot the ball extremely well in the first half, building a 10-point lead. In the second half, your team starts the half on a 10-4 run to get you back in it. Quentin Hooker, nice bounce pass to Connor Avance, and Hooker would continue to be a factor for you, keeping your team within striking distance in this one.
He did. We got some stops defensively, and again, you're watching us sharing the ball. We got some easy baskets off our defense to get us back into striking distance there. But again, paint touch, that's a horse shot, and we're going to make a high percentage of those.
Hooker with the 3 there. He led your team with 20 points, also had 8 assists. But Eastern Washington was led by Austin McBroom. Here he has the pull-up, Jay. He had a game-high 35 points, 20 of those coming in that hot-shooting first half. Bernstein then with the drive and the dunk here late in the second half, but it was not enough as Eastern Washington hangs on for a 95-85 victory. Avance had a career-high 15 points, shooting 5 of 6 from the floor. But another struggle for your team was inside. Venky Joyce shot 9 of 9 from the floor. He had 18 of his 24 points in the second half. Carson Shanks fouled out. Avance had 4 fouls. I imagine that led to some difficulty defending Joyce on the inside.
It did, and plus they have 4 shooters on the floor. It's kind of pick your poison against those guys. McBroom had a big first half. We didn't want to leave shooters. He was isolated a lot of times inside, but Venky Joyce is a talented player. And obviously he's always been really efficient, but that's why they're so difficult to guard. They have 5 scorers on the floor, usually 4 shooters, and they just pound it inside to him.
Your team then makes the relatively short drive from Cheney to Moscow, at least by Big Sky standards, a short trip as you take on the Idaho Vandals. And Corey Baldwin on the road, scoreless in his last 2 games, but he shined for you from beyond the arc in this game.
Oh, he's good. Again, our guys found him open rhythm shots for him, and he's played well on the road. We got to get him going a little bit at home, but in the first half, I thought we got out to a good start. You're seeing, again, a horse shot. We're moving the ball. But Idaho plays a tempo that just forces you to really grind, and I thought we were able to sustain that type of tempo as well.
Yeah, your team built an early 8-point lead late in the first half. Quentin Hooker hits the pull-up, Jay, as things are tied at 22 at the half. A much different scoring variety than there was in the Eastern Washington game. Then in the second half, Baldwin starts out with another 3-pointer. Then in transition, Hooker to Bernstein, who will get the drive for 2. Bernstein, 15 points and a game-high 11 rebounds, his 8th double-double of the season as your team built a 4-point lead. And midway through the first half, Carson Shanks working down low gets the 2. And then later we'll see you trailing by 3, but Gino Crandall's going to knock down another 3. This one just nip and tuck throughout.
It was a 1-2 possession game the whole game, and it was just tough. We had to, both teams would get some stops, and then they'd get some scores on that. But it was just, late in the game here where we were able to make a run, and they missed 2 foul shots, get a shot at the horn, which we won, a high percentage shot. We're racing it down the floor, and you're going to take this type of shot on the road to get a win, and we couldn't execute that any better outside of the finish of the shot.
Absolutely. Idaho finished the game making their last 8 field goals, which was a big difference down the stretch, as Idaho does cling to a 65-64 victory. Hooker with just 8 points, snapping a 28-game streak where he scored in double figures over 28 straight games, that is. Both teams this weekend, Coach, shot better than 50% from the floor. Any concerns defensively? I know that's been a strength of yours, is the defense leading to offense recently, but any concerns there?
Yeah, it is. Obviously, that hasn't been us, and I think a lot of times what it was second shots. After watching the film and looking at the stats, we didn't rebound the ball as well as we needed to. Mm-hmm. We took care of the ball, so it wasn't necessarily transition points, but it was to me it was more the backboard giving them second shots in the paint, and when you do that, and they're more high percentage shots, and Eastern Washington is just that talented offensively, but we have to address that in this home stretch, this next 3 games, the last 5 games. We have to be better defensively.
The 2 losses drop your team to 7-6 in the conference. You're in 6th place, but only a game and a half out of that viable 4th spot that everybody wants to get that first round bye in the Big Sky tournament with 5 games left to go. It's a fine line, but it's a workable line.
No question. That's what I told our guys after the game. If you come home and take care of home, you're going to be right where you need to be going into the final weekend. And it's a long season. What we have in our favor, some of these teams are starting to play teams in the upper echelon. We've played them all already. Outside of we got Montana and Montana State coming in, but outside of that, the rest of the teams still have to have a beefy part of their schedule. We've played all that, so that's one thing we do have in our favor right now.
And you are back at home against Northern Colorado this Saturday as your team looks to stay above 500 in Big Sky play. Good luck this week against the Bears. We'll recap that game next week here on the show. Don't go away. We're back with women's head basketball coach Travis Brewster right after the break.
UND Sports Extra on Midco Sports Network is presented by the University of North Dakota, RideLCars.com, and Farmers Union Insurance.
Welcome back. Court remains in session with UND head women's basketball coach Travis Brewster. Coach, tough week for your ladies this week as you face the number 2 and number 3 teams within the Big Sky. What did you learn from your team this week?
Well, you got to play, and it's getting close to March. And the other part about it is with this team is, we're starting to play better. And the key is when we get to Reno, we have to be playing our best basketball. So I was encouraged by some things, and obviously saw some things we need to work on. There
was a youth movement, it seemed like, this weekend. Some freshmen off the bench really stepping up for you, specifically Jill Morton and Lexi Claybo.
Well, they're not freshmen anymore. Mm-hmm. They've been through the ringer a little bit, so to speak. They're starting to find out that, hey, I can play at this level. I just got to be consistent. And so it's nice to have them helping us out.
You started your week against number 2 in the Big Sky, Eastern Washington, on Thursday night at the Betty. Game you saw here on Midco Sports Network. Haley and Delaney Hodgins, coach, a difficult tandem to defend against.
Well, they've been good for a long time together, obviously being sisters, but they attack the hoop and they find different ways to score, and they play off each other very well.
There was a point in this game where 23 straight points for the Eagles were scored by somebody named Hodgins. In the third quarter, though, one of your leaders, Michaela Dyer, the silent assassin as you like to call her, dishing to Lexi Claybo for the lay-in, and then Dyer with a strong drive and finish here as she had 13 points as your team built a 5-point lead. Another leader on your team, Leah Zabla, would close the third quarter strong for you, the final 7 points for your team over the end of that quarter.
Well, Leah and Michaela are doing a great job of just taking responsibility, having the ball in their hand. Great passer from Kelsey. You want them to be able to make some positive plays, and it's just great to see them. Great shot here by Leah, knocking it down in the corner. It was a big 3 again, and she's been known to do that throughout her career.
Your team takes a 4-point lead at that point. Zabla finished with 10, but in the fourth, Eastern Washington would build a 7-point lead, and some role players getting in the action for the Eagles. Tisha Phillips with the drive and lay in there as Eastern led by 7, but your freshmen off the bench take over on Thursday night. Jill Morton, Lexi Claybo, as we mentioned, were big contributors for your team.
Well, they just did a tremendous job of doing the little things that we talked about. You know, that's a great rebound by Lexi. We need her to rebound like that just as well as Jill. You know, you want your players to take pride in doing that stuff, and they're doing it.
And in the closing seconds, yes, Morton seals it with the steal there. You hit the free throws down the stretch as well. UND goes on to win this one, 72-69 the final. Maya Lloyd, another double-double for her, 33rd of her career, 18 points and 10 rebounds. The bench outscoring Eastern Washington 25-7. Your 7th straight win. Your team gets over the 500 mark. This was another growing moment for your team.
Well, I thought they handled it well. You know, Eastern Washington's battling to be in first place. They come in tied, and then they play us. Now they go to second. It's one of those things when you watch them play, though, you want to gain that confidence as you're playing those top teams. Now, unfortunately, we're playing everybody that's either ahead of us for our last part of our last 7 games, and you turn around, if we're playing somebody else that's not ahead of us, then they're half game behind us. So it's a lot of pressure, but at the same time, it's fun.
Another challenge laid ahead on Saturday afternoon as you entertain Idaho, and Senior Day, Maya Lloyd and Kelsey Knox among some others that were honored before the game. And early on, though, it was the youngsters carrying on again. Off the rebound, Morton goes coast to coast for the lay-in. She had 10, and Lexi Claybo making another strong appearance with a three-pointer here. She had 11, both of those freshmen in double figures for you. The veterans were stepping up too, part of a 17-0 run in the second quarter that helped keep you in this ball game, Coach.
Well, we were hitting on all cylinders for a little bit, and we got to continue to try to strive for that each quarter and each game.
Maya Lloyd with the putback and foul there. Then Samantha Roscoe caps the 17-0 run with the lay-in there as your team built an 11-point lead. But in the third quarter, as Idaho can with their perimeter shooting, they come back. Christina Salvatore with the 3 here, and then Taylor Pierce knocks down another triple as Idaho then builds a 7-point lead. But in the fourth quarter, your upperclassmen leadership would return by way of Samantha Roscoe in a big way in the fourth quarter.
Well, you know, Salvatore is a good player, but, you know, you got to play, you know, and you got to keep battling. That's a good shot by Sam there. And, you know, she's 6'4". She's a little bit of a mismatch problem. She can put it on the floor a little bit, and, you know, she's got a plethora of moves.
She had a team-high 12 points and 4 rebounds for you in the closing minute. UND trailing by 5. Maya Lloyd with the steal, the hoop, and the foul. Lloyd finishing with 8 points, 10 rebounds, but Idaho does hang on, hitting their free throws down the stretch, 65-59. The winning streak comes to an end despite UND controlling the boards as they so often do, 50-37 on the glass. 3-point field goals, though. There were 9 of them made by Idaho, a strength of theirs, only 1 for your team, not a strength of UND's. Was that a key contributor in the difference of this game,
well,
you feel?
They had the timely threes, you know, and I really thought they did a good job of sticking with their game plan and knocking it down. We had some breakdowns defensively. When you look at it here, when you go down and you play in Reno, we know if we get matched up with them again, then, hey, we really have to take away the three-point line, and that emphasis becomes even stronger in our players' minds. But, you know, we gave ourselves a chance, and that's all you can ask for. And this game, you know, you look at it, it's exciting. Again, though, another game decided by 7 points or less.
Absolutely, as they so often are within the Big Sky. Your team now a half game back of Weber State for that all-important 4th spot. There's a fine line right now the rest of the season, isn't there?
Well, yeah, it's just one of those things. That's what your goal is, to be in the top 4. And, you know, there's not a lot of room for error, but at the same time, if we're having fun and we're battling, it's going to take care of itself. We can't worry about a whole lot of, hey, you know, this team's playing here. We can only control ourselves, and we got to stay focused.
You are back on the road this weekend against Northern Colorado. Your expectations and your keys to the victory against the Bears this week?
Well, we're going to play a team that's, you know, they're tough at home, and we're going to have to take care of the basketball, control their three-point shooting because they do it fairly well. The other part is we're going to have to eliminate our turnovers. And if we can do those 2 things, we can have success, but it's going to be difficult.
Just 1 game on the week. It'll be Saturday at Northern Colorado. Coach, good luck this week against the Bears. We'll recap the game next week here on the show.
Thanks. Good well.
All right. We're back with more right after this.
UND Sports Extra on Midco Sports Network is presented by the University of North Dakota, RideLCars.com, and Farmers Union Insurance.
She doesn't always pack the stat sheet, but she does everything she can with her talents to help her team to victory. Senior guard Kelsey Knox has had the opportunity to appear in 86 games for North Dakota over her past 2.5 years here, and she's appeared in every one of them. Here's Marty Mueller now with more on what makes the plucky guard from Platte City, Missouri tick for UND.
I enjoy passing the ball. I enjoy letting my teammates score, and if that's how we win games, I'm okay with it.
It's all about the W. Players executing their role for the sake of the team. However, a basketball role wasn't always on Kelsey Knox's mind.
To be honest, basketball was on the back burner. I was a huge soccer player, but I started playing basketball in 2nd grade, up with some 3rd graders, and you know, I was just out there, just a ball of energy. I didn't really know what I was doing, and then I fell in love with basketball about 9th grade and decided that's what I wanted to do.
After trading her cleats for high tops, Kelsey found success on the court. But just as her junior college career started, an injury aimed to steal her newfound passion.
It's the first time I've ever had any injuries throughout my whole sports career, and you know, it made me realize that I was in love with playing basketball and that I wanted to, and I had a lot to work for, and I really got blessed because an assistant coach here found me at JUCO Nationals when I barely played, and late April I got a call and was like, do you want to come on a visit? And I was like, sure, and I just fell in love with the campus and the coaches and the girls, and here I am.
And just like that, this steel-happy, ball-sharing guard was on her way to North Dakota to further develop alongside what would become her only senior classmate.
I think that personally we both have just like grown into very different, obviously, basketball players, but at the same time very good basketball players, and I think that, you know, our teammates in the past and even now have helped us become, you know, the players that we are today.
While admittingly different, their two styles can and have led this group. Like true leaders, they accept their roles and take pride in contributing where that role fits. Doing it because it's necessary, not because it's always glamorous.
I love the small little things, and that's something I can do. I'm not the type of person that's going to step back and shoot a dagger 3, but I'm the person that can get a stop defensively, and that's just my mentality when I play.
As the season winds down, there comes time to reflect on one's playing career. For Kelsey, it's a gritty one, but one fans here at the Betty can truly appreciate.
Dyer swings it, Knox for another 3, and she's got it. 2 3-pointers in the 2nd quarter by Kelsey Knox.
I went to JUCO, and you don't have a lot of this. You don't have the crowd support. You play about 20 people, and the support here is just unbelievable, and it's truly an honor to play in front of this crowd.
One area Knox does stand out in is her ability to force turnovers. She's currently 12th in the Big Sky in steals per game. We're back with women's hockey highlights next here on UND Sports Extra.
UND Sports Extra on Midco Sports Network is presented by the University of North Dakota, RideLCars.com, and Farmers Union Insurance.
The UND women's hockey team enters the final home series of the regular season, hoping to hang on to its 3rd place spot in the WCHA. UND playing host to St. Cloud State in a pair this past weekend, and a sluggish start in a defensive battle in the series opener. Shelby Amsley-Benzie, though, doing her part between the pipes. One of her 20 saves here, keeping the game scoreless. Then later, not many scoring opportunities for UND, but Amy Menke creates one here off the turnover, getting a backhand shot on net, but the game remains scoreless until a minute 18 into the 2nd period. St. Cloud State gets on the board. Amsley-Benzie making the initial save, but the rebound goal is there by Molly Ilkinen as St. Cloud State goes on to win on Friday 1-0. The shots favoring UND 39-21, and UND attempted 72 shots in the loss. It would be a better outcome on Saturday. On Senior Day at the Ralph, 7 minutes into the first, senior to senior matching up here. Megan Dufault with the nice pass to Becca Kohler on the doorstep for a 1-0 UND lead. Then late in the 2nd period, same score, UND working a 2-on-1. Amy Menke takes it herself, firing home the wrister for a 2-0 North Dakota lead. Then in the third, another senior gets on the score sheet. Layla Marvin fighting through traffic, chips in the goal here to make it 3-0. That would be the final score. Amsley Benzie closing out her regular season at the Ralph with 18 saves, her 22nd career shutout. The split drops UND from fourth to fourth in the WCHA. They're now 10th in the pairwise, and UND closes out the regular season at Ohio State this weekend. Don't go away. We're back with some final thoughts here on UND Sports Extra.
UND Sports Extra on Midco Sports Network is presented by the University of North Dakota, RideLCars.com, and Farmers Union Insurance.
The UND softball season threw out the first pitch on its season at the Iowa State Indoor Tournament this past weekend in Ames. UND drops a pair on Saturday to begin the tournament, falling 1-0 to Eastern Illinois and falling 10-1 to host Iowa State in 5 innings to round out the day on Saturday. On Sunday, UND falls to IUPUI 3-1, but bounces back to beat the host Iowa State Cyclones 1-0 to cap off the tournament. UND is at the University of Texas San Antonio Invitational this weekend. Coming up this week on Midco Sports Network, a pivotal series in the NCHC concludes on Midco Sports Network this Saturday. Minnesota Duluth against number 4 North Dakota. Our coverage begins at 7 o'clock. We hope you can join us then. Thanks for watching UND Sports Extra.